I think 5 out of our 6 divisions we had quite good operating performance compared to the previous year. We still, going through the impairment cycle, so there's still impairments are still at elevated levels, although we are starting to see them come down now, as we expected at the end of last year. But it is still quite a tough operating space. But we have seen, that there is a reasonable level of activity, but still nowhere near, normal.
Well, credit demand relatively flat at this point, and you're alluding to the fact that it has been in negative territory for some time now. When do you expect a proper recovery when it comes to credit demand? And I know you were one of the advocates of an interest rate cut prior to the previous MPC meeting.
Talk to the consumer lenders and the motor dealers and those kinds of people, they say, they are seeing a significant improvement over prior years, but obviously prior years were particularly bad. So it should start improving. I think we saw demand for credit go positive of late. I think July or August, I can't remember which number, was positive for the first time in quite a while. And I think that is reflecting that people are starting to say, okay, interest rates are lower, I can start taking a bit more risk, the balance sheets of the individuals are improving. The question is, when do corporates start investing? And, they haven't really been investing for some time now. Everyone got a big fright, with the crisis. So this has to start, people have to start getting optimism about what is going on the ground. And you've seen very strong performance by developing markets, India, China, and other developing markets. Developed markets, some countries have done quite well, like Germany has seen very strong growth. The US obviously seeing the growth rate decline. There's been this worry about a double dip. A lot of commentators say, no, it's not really a worry. Norio Rubini says 40% chance. Now, I think that means almost 0 chance because he's such a pessimist. So I'm feeling, you go through weeks when you're very optimistic and you go through weeks where you say, well, what's going on here? So it's like stop-start. That's the problem. We just need the sustained recovery. Well, Basel III, I think, is manageable for everyone. Obviously, the South African banks comply already with what the future requirements are. It is probably tougher than people read on the face of it, because a lot of instruments that were used as capital before may no longer be able to be used as capital because they've got this concept of loss absorption. But that gets phased in over a long period of time. So I don't think that's going to damage the economy at all. I think, there are lots of restrictions taking place, which means that money will flow slower, which I think long-term, regulators have swung to one extreme and they'll flow back a bit to get something more rational, as they find that some of the measures that they've taken are really damaging to long-term sustainable growth. But I don't think Basel III is going to be that thing. I don't think it's that onerous. I think it was important to, change the capital ratios. They're far too low. We lived with a higher capital ratio environment in South Africa, and we navigated through the crisis a lot better than any other, most other countries.
Tell us about your wealth pillar and how that is going to, you're talking about synergies between Rensburg, Shepherds and South Africa as well.
Sure. I think what we did, we had it in pockets. We've now said we're consolidating it. We've already done that in South Africa. The next step is for Rensburg to absorb our wealth management businesses in the UK and then combine them into a global platform like you've seen with what Investec Asset Management have done. So obviously that is a strong thrust of ours, both asset management and private wealth. And the reason for that is it's a low capital intensive business. It helps you generate capital, whereas banking is becoming a much higher capital intensive businesses with a new requirement. So it is an area that we intend to drive, but it is very, very long term to build those businesses. It takes a long, long time.
Taking a look at where the most opportunities lie ahead, Stephen, where are you putting your focus on? Because most countries are focusing on emerging markets, and it seems that the divisions that have fared better is, of course, the ones outside of South Africa.
Well, I think clearly we have a strong platform here. We haven't focused on growing our businesses in Africa, although we've always dealt in Africa, and the reason for that is those are mainly consumer type businesses or retail type businesses. When you get into the corporate space, there are very few corporates, or it's very, very competitive. If you in the corporate space in Nigeria, all the big global banks will be there, and you'll have to really try and compete with that. So we're not a branch-based bank, so that's why you've never seen our strategy in that direction. Asset management have a strategy in Africa. They manage money for central banks around Africa, and they will continue to offer their asset management products into that market. We'll continue to offer our advisory products into that market because we have relationships and networks up there. But certainly to put retail banking branches on the ground is not our game, and so you're not going to see us do that. Over the years, you saw very strong expansion of our South African business. Clearly it slowed down last year, the last 2 years as a consequence of the crisis. We're seeing a recovery in our UK business, quite a strong recovery, and our Australian business is still, below scale, and we're trying to build that up now. But yeah, I mean, we expand where the opportunities are. And you saw we've expanded our headcount in asset management, we've expanded our headcount in capital markets. Those are the businesses that are really on the front foot, and obviously we've done whatever we've done in private wealth to build our platform there. So, Rensburg adds 600 people to our firm. So it's already a big infrastructure business. Now the question is we need to get more clients through there.